Thank you for investing time in you. Once we leave here today, the benefits and gains you will take with you depend greatly on how you choose to listen today. What I'm about to share with you has already beneficially changed the lives of thousands of other people at hundreds of other companies. My opening challenge to you is, are you ready to listen not only with your ears, but with your heart? Say yes, and you will gain the greatest benefits of improved health. In this talk, we will bring up the topic of optimizing or slowing down the aging process is something that eludes us all. We all would love to be young and fit, but we all do not realize that the choice is ours. To age with vitality or to get old is the question of the day. First, we must explore the difference between aging and getting old. In 2009, 1 in 8 Americans are 65 and older, or about 40 million Americans, versus what's going to be now in our future, about 2050, they're estimating that 1 in 5 Americans will be 65 or older. So how does that play into everything? How old do we feel? How old do we feel depends upon your age, right? So this is amazing because I want to take this stat from when we originally wrote this class, and we're going to kind of talk about where we are now in 2024. Aging occurs gradually, so our bodies learn to adapt. And adaptation enables us to continue even with our limitations. Sometimes we do not realize our limitations right away because our body is so good at adapting. We do not always have to adapt to these limitations. We can search for the model of how to live beyond those limitations, like the senior athletes. But the senior athletes are the exception, they're not the normal. Why? Now let's talk about it. In 2010, right, which is what we have right here on our screen, US life expectancy was 78.3 years, we're ranked 36 in the world. Fast forward to 2021, our life expectancy dropped to 76.3 years, and we are now ranked 60th in the world in life expectancy by World Bank. So why is US life expectancy ranked 60th in the world? Why? If we spend more money on healthcare than any other country, are we 60th in life expectancy? Plain and simple, it is because of our choices. Okay, we choose to live lives with unhealthy habits and create instant gratification and supersized portions, right? Everybody wants it and they want it now. We do not want to spend any time or energy or money exercising. And we want a pill or surgery to make us young and skinny and shiny and new. We are not willing to live with a culture of health. We're not willing to change our lifestyle to create longevity. Okay, the system is broken, and it's the system itself. Okay, some people blame the doctors. It's the system. Yeah, in all professions, we have our higher 1%, our middle percent, and then our bottom 80%. But something needs to change now in this system. The system of bandaging symptoms for instant gratification rather than taking our responsibility for the problem we created. Okay, we could choose to focus on what's wrong, or we can pivot to hope. So when we look at this, right, we have 2 options. You can age, or you can get old. All right, there are estimated 250,000 senior athletes training in the USA. Each one of them is redefining what the aging body can do. So why can't that be you? This was reported in 2012. Okay, studies show that regular exercise and training can slow the degeneration of bone density, slow the degeneration of muscular development, and slow the degeneration of balance in older adults. These are 3 physical functions that decline with age that are measurable. Okay, the American Journal of Sports Medicine found that these major declines in performance times don't occur until age 75. So we have a couple options. If you want to continue, if you're not happy with the trajectory you are on, you are most likely in our getting old phase or our getting old category, which is degeneration, decrepitness, deterioration, walkers, canes, wheelchairs, nursing homes, pretty much just existing, not thriving. If you are happy with your lifestyle choices as you mature on this planet, you're probably going to end up in our aging category, which is vibrant, vital, healthy, exciting, and ecstatic. So we're going to talk about it. What is aging? Aging is the span between life and death, or birth and death. Now we have 3 stages, okay? We have the first stage is growth. And this is where protein mass is increasing in the body. So when we look at our growth stage, it's from birth until somewhere between 18 and 22, maybe 16 and 22. That's our growth phase. Phase number 2 is maturity. Maturity is a very, very, very small phase where we no longer are increasing our protein mass, but we haven't yet started to decrease our protein mass. So the protein mass in our body stays constant, okay? And third and final stage of life is called aging, the aging stage or aging syndrome. That is where protein mass decreases in the body, okay? So protein mass relates to proteins in our cells and extracellular protein, such as collagen. Now, collagen is 33% or 1/3 of all protein in the body. So when we look at this, my biggest question is, what makes aging a thing, right? So if we have these processes, and if we're doing all the things right, well, why do we even age in the first place? Especially if we're talking in the realm of chiropractic care, if we're keeping the body ideal, no scar tissue buildup, no subluxation buildup, which is the misalignment of spinal bone, pressure on our nerves, right? No pressure on our nerves, a complete free-flowing information highway of stuff coming from our brain to our body and our body to our brain. Why do we even age in the first place? Well, there's a couple things that are byproducts of aging that is really going to answer that question. So, byproduct of aging, time. Time is a process, right? So what we talk about in time in terms of aging is damage sustained over time stimulates other bad events. For example, you get into a car accident when you were in your teens. You didn't think anything of it, you got rear-ended, maybe going 10, 15 miles per hour, didn't go get checked, okay? Now that pain or that trauma stores in your tissues, especially if you have a line, won't do this, right? A little bit of whiplash situation going on. Well, that is going to can perpetuate if not caught, left with time to create scar tissue and dysfunction. Maybe 20 years later, you start having neck discomfort, tension, headaches, right? Number 2, inflammation. Inflammatory responses are designed to protect us from invaders and injuries. It also may be the cause of our degeneration and our aging process. Inflammation is the body's response to an injury, but long-lasting inflammation can be harmful, right? So inflammation left unchecked, chronic inflammation, simmers over years and decades, and collateral damage accumulates. Imagine you put the inflammation brings nutrients, tissue, cells into an injured area or an area where there is an invader. And imagine if that stays there. So now let's take a knee, for example. We have your knee and you fall on your knee and it swells up and you have all the extra blood cells and nutrients and fluid rushing to that area to try to repair it. Now, imagine if the swelling never went away in that knee, how uncomfortable that would be. Right? That's chronic inflammation that could be harmful. Number 3, cellular damage. Now, our cells have a limited number of times they can divide and replicate due to shortening of telomeres. Now, telomeres are the end caps of our chromosomes. Really cool research article showed that actually people who get adjusted at a chiropractic office can lengthen their telomeres over time, even though telomeres are our biological aging marker that tells us, really how biologically how old we are, right? And finally, our decrease in protein mass caused by malnutrition, lack of exercise, disuse, atrophy, so couch potato, okay? GI problems, eating processed foods, toxins in entering our body, cell loss and loss of extracellular proteins or collagen, degradation of proteins in the body because we don't use our body the way it was designed to. We abuse our body because of its instant gratification and fast food, and it tastes good and it's good for the soul, and the gallon of ice cream was only $4, whatever that may be, we are decreasing our protein mass by how we're fueling our being. But whose fault is it? Could I possibly be the blame? Or, oh, it's just genetics. I'm gonna be there's obesity in my family, so I'm gonna be obese. Let's figure that out, right? So, I apologize for those of y'all who are blaming genetics for your problems, okay? Vonda Wright, orthopedic surgeon, stated that when we look at this, how we age is primarily under our control, right? How we age is 30% genetics and 70% under our direct control. So we can use genetics as a scapegoat to justify not doing the things we need to do. However, 70% is under your direct control. You can't feel like a victim here because we're not victims of aging. We can take actions to optimize our youth. Those actions tend to cost us time and energy. These are things that, for some reason, Americans specifically do not want to invest time and energy in themselves. They'll invest time and energy in scrolling through Instagram. They'll invest time and energy with having the new superficial shiny object. They'll invest time and energy in putting on a facade so their friends think that they're doing better than they actually are. We're willing to invest hundreds of hours and hundreds of hours in time and energy on these superficial things that are going to lead us to getting old instead of aging gracefully. You have the opportunity to optimize your youth. The problem is you don't see the value in it because for some reason we are indestructible. We're never going to die. It's never going to happen. I'm never going to get old. I'm young. I feel good now. I'll worry about that later. But guess what? The choices that you make now are the choices that are going to directly affect you later. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but the choices you make today and this week are going to affect you 5 and 10 years from now. And then those choices you make in 5 and 10 years from now are going to affect you 5 and 10 years from now. So you have it in your control. You just need to take ownership for it, not wallow in the pity of it. Take ownership for it and choose to do something differently right now. So, how many of you watching this have experienced one or multiple of them? Okay, a change in eyesight, especially when reading, shortness of breath or tightness in your chest, pain in your chest, stomach pains, indigestion, or heartburn, urinary changes in frequency, urgency, and the inability to hold urine or forgetfulness. If any of those are you, we need to dive in and see, is this part of our aging, right? Aging is a process. So when we look at this, we have observable signs of aging. And what those signs of aging show us is when some of these things begin, okay? So observable signs of nervous system degeneration or aging, 20 years old, we have 100 billion cells, then by 40, we lose up to 10,000 cells a day, or 1 to 3 million per year after the age 40. Respiratory system, okay? By age 40, typically people experience breathlessness. Circulatory system, so we're having this trend of about 40 years. For circulatory system, 40 years, blood vessels are less elastic, and fatty deposits block arteries. GI system 55, urinary system 65. These things are signs of aging. So speaking of aging, and let's go back to those athletes, right? Are you too old for sports? Well, let's figure that out. Mr. Macon, a Dallas, Texas lawyer, recently set a world record for the number of marathons in 1 year. He completed his 113th certified marathon New Year's Day. But that was also the day he turned 67. Okay. Can you be too old? Only if you tell yourself you are, right? We have two things, right? When we look at age and being old, there's two ways we can go, because we're talking about a longer lifespan, right? Our longer lifespan may mean it takes longer to die slowly, expensively, and with more disease and disability. Or one lives a long life with vibrancy and vitality. So, which do you want to be, right? Johns Hopkins Hospital Medicare spending the final 2 years of a patient's life amounted to about $85,000. That's intense, right? Some estimate that 70% of what you'll spend on your healthcare in your lifetime is spent in your last 2 years of life. And that is based on the decisions that you make right now. Adaptation is what enables us to continue on even with our limitations. So what does that mean? Now we can allow those limitations and that adaptation to just say, oh, well, that's aging, and not do anything about it and continue in it. Or we can take advantage of the ability to adapt and change those limitations. So guess what? We're our worst enemy. We do these things to ourselves. Our choices become our problems. Most of us are not making wise choices about optimizing our youth, because guess what? We're going to be healthy forever. And it's just a crick in the neck, or it's just a pain in the knee, or it's just, a little bit of heartburn, right? We are making these choices because we feel like we are indestructible. And the problem is that's not true. We don't want to face the reality that aging is something that's going to happen to each and every one of us. And if we don't start to do something now, guess what? We are going to. So, 10 secrets for a long car life. Let's talk about it. If you want to maintain your car, there are things you have to do. Regular oil changes, monitor key fluids, maintain the transmission, change the spark plugs, watch and care for the timing belts. Do not forget the radiator, remember the filters, fight rust, know and use your maintenance manual, and drive with habits that will take years off your car. Let's talk about people. What are 10 secrets for a long life? Very similar to a car. Regular spinal adjustments, monitor your posture, optimize your brain function, train your brain, read, crossword puzzle, games, things like that. Exercise daily, train your body. Care for your body on a schedule not based on symptoms, but based on longevity. Reduce inflammation. Remember, how you eat and what you fuel this body is what you're going to get out. If you put crap in, you will get crap out, right? Fight adding toxins and poisons. Less if you don't have to, if you can talk to your doctor about weaning you off some of these medications, do so. Reduce alcohol consumption and smoking. Know and use your body's maintenance schedule. Consistently choose ideal actions to enhance your health. Okay? So when we look at this, you need to make sure that you are doing things that increase your longevity. And if you implement these things one little bit at a time, you can literally overhaul your entire life in 9 months to change the trajectory of where you're going to go. Are you going to be in a wheelchair in a nursing home? Or are you gonna be in your 60s, 70s, and 80s running marathons or participating in the Masters Olympics, which is 65 and older in track and field? Are you gonna be playing outside in the grass with your grandkids and your great grandkids? Or are you gonna be wallowing away in a nursing home where your grandkids and great grandkids don't really want to come visit? Who are you? Which one of those paths are you gonna take? So my call to action for you today, very, very simple. Do something different. Whether that is go to your chiropractor more often, whether that is consult your chiropractor or or a nutritionist that you know on what I should change in my pantry or my fridge. Join a gym. You don't want to join a gym, start to walk 10 minutes every day. Do something and choose one thing. Leave a comment below. What's your one thing that you're going to choose to change? And we will work with you on this journey. And we thank you for being here. This is really fun. Longevity is important because we are going to age and you get to choose. Don't blame it on your genetics. Take action right now. Thank you. Have a great day.